Rob here with McDojoLife, just getting the day kind of going real fast before I get before they disown me. I'd like to thank my sponsors. That would be Gold BJJ. Thank you guys for the awesome care package you guys sent me, because now I have a cool fucking hat. You're welcome. Also, I'd like to thank Fight Back CBD and MMA Pack, monthly subscription service where you can just get cool MMA shit from random companies every month. My guest today, Tim the motherfucking man Kennedy. I don't know if that's your actual nickname, but I'm just going to say it is. What's going on, man?
No, just chilling. It's been a hell of a day, you know, just shaking and moving.
Yeah, man, I understand. So it was actually kind of interesting. I'll just open up with this. So whenever I put guests on, right, I always announce beforehand. And you did the video for me, which I appreciate. I like to announce it so that way people can kind of like gear up and get excited about it and stuff like that. More people honestly watch my shit when it goes to YouTube than live. But the truth is that whenever I actually posted that I was going to have you on, there was actually people bitching. I had a couple people who were complaining that you were coming on live. And I guess that was your stance on gun control in some way. Do you know what they were complaining about?
No. I always find that like the loudest group online is the minority, and also anytime that somebody expresses, I love social media, but it has given a microphone to, that's a very scary thing, right? When you have a bunch of people that don't know anything about anything, you give them a forum to talk about things. It's a recipe for disaster. Everybody has opinions, but they're never backed up with information. That minority of crazy people are somehow under the impression that I am for taking guns. Possible.
I'm sorry, you kind of broke up just a little bit there. I apologize about that. There was
let me get closer to my Wi-Fi server.
There we go. Yeah, just kind of right at the important part. You were like a lot of people think, and then it just kind of went beep, 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 and died.
Typical.
What I'd really like to say is, and that's the first time and last time you'll ever hear that ever. I will never repeat it. There we go.
Oh, do we have? Are we in business?
Yes, sir. We are in business, and business is good. So you were saying people get, basically the internet gives voice to people who are kind of the minority, normally I guess the silent minority, and then the internet comes along, and then all of a sudden they get the balls.
There's no balls for somebody that won't say something to somebody else's face, but will say anything they want online. That's a coward to me, right? But it's not just this minority; it's an ignorant minority. So all of these people that think that they understand what my opinions are because of like some out of context 3-second blurb from, you know, a life in comparison to like a lifetime of understanding is the tragedy, right? They're like, oh, I heard him say this one time in this one interview, even though he's talked probably 20,000 times on that topic, I'm going to ignore the 19,999 times, and I'm just going to focus on this 3-second segment and form all of my opinions because I'm an ignorant tool. That's what that is.
That is very well said and very clear. So that they can take that 3-second clip and shove it. I think it's interesting because you yourself have served in the military and you are a martial artist. And so in the grand scheme of things, in the grand scheme of like the world, like the modern era, you are a warrior. That is your cup of tea. It's what you fucking do. So I'm just curious. I always ask this question. It's one of my favorites. What got you started in the martial arts? What led you down that path to begin with?
I mean, I think it was my parents' way of keeping me out of prison. Truthfully, I was the second born, you know, lots of energy problems, typical boy, you know, like I like doing crazy things. I like being violent. I didn't like listen to my coaches. I liked, you know, running across the basketball field and dropping an elbow into, you know, somebody that I should have just tried to take I would foul out in every single basketball game when I was like 6 years old.
You got to have that dude on the team, though. You got to have the enforcer, man.
Right?
It's fucking hockey rules, son.
Yeah, but we're talking basketball or soccer, where you're not supposed to have an enforcer, but I automatically assumed I was the enforcer. So my dad's like, you know what? I think martial arts would be a good thing for this hairy troll to try, so he doesn't end up in prison.
Well, that's probably good. You know, like at least in the martial arts, you're allowed to hit people. It's like, oh, I was supposed to do this. This is fucking great. No other sport allows this for some reason, except for hockey. Hockey's cool with it for some reason. I guess because the serrated feet make things a little dangerous.
You're essentially fighting on cold concrete, and you have a bat in your hand, and you're wearing knives on both of your feet, but they're totally cool with violence. I love hockey. That's
you know, whenever somebody figures out how the hell to kick in hockey, things are going to change. I think we're going to see a new age of hockey. Drop kicking fools. Oh, somebody had a question, and I've heard this a lot, and I have no fucking clue what the context is. So I guess maybe you can help shed some light. He said, Kieran McNam. I hope I said your name right. If I didn't, I don't care. He said, did you ever find Hitler?
So I was part of a television show where I was going around and tracking Nazis. Some that escaped post-World War II and made it to South America, some that went up to Norway. We tracked some into Northern Africa. We didn't get to go there. And the whole premise of the show was if these very high-level Nazis were able to make it out and survive and live into old age, was it possible that Hitler himself was able to escape? So the show was called Hunting Hitler. So all the people that were asking about it, we spent 3 years going all over the world to the most extraordinary places and finding Nazis. When I say Nazis, we live in an era where people use that word kind of carelessly and inaccurately. Yeah. Now we're back to that ignorant minority. I'm talking about real Nazis whose grandpas were
like SS Nazis, like legitimate German soldier Nazis.
Yeah, like SS tattooed on the side of their neck, you know, and like the palm leaves with the swastika tattooed on their shoulders, you know, SS rings, SS watches, you know, like so every single Nazi party furniture had to have the swastika Nazi approved engraving or stamp on it. And I would walk into these people's homes and I would see original legitimate Nazi furniture from like 1940 decorating the whole entire mansion. I mean, so the furniture alone is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That is a real Nazi.
Yeah, no like shit. That's crazy, dude.
Pissed off kid in Portland.
Yeah, that's no, we call those douchebags. Yeah, that's a much different thing. Yeah, I never understood that, man. I never understood why people would mislabel, because that's what it really is. It's a mislabeling. You know, you have assholes and you have douchebags, you have Nazis, real Nazis, and then you have skinheads. There's a lot of subcategories of assholes on the planet.
Yeah.
And so I think that if they're that much of an asshole, they deserve the proper title. That's just why take it away from them. You know?
I mean, where was that place? The dudes in the polo shirts and the khaki shorts with the tiki torches. Charlottesville?
Oh, wow. I don't know about that one. No.
Yeah, it was a bunch of white supremacists that were like, you know, like they're like walking around at night and they had tiki torches, you know, and it's like, look at all these Nazis. And I was like, man, those are white supremacists. Those are assholes for sure. You know, thank God we're in America and they're entitled to their stupid, racist, ignorant positions, but they're not Nazis. Like I know Nazis. And that's not Nazis. Those are white supremacist idiots.
Well, you had a whole TV show based on it. So if anybody knows Nazis, it'd be this guy.
Unfortunately.
Now that's a very interesting thing that I think is fucking weird, man, is like so many people want to silence people for their opinions. And I'm of the opinion that, you know, if somebody's a dick, I would much rather them vocalize the fact that they are and then hide it. You know, like if people are like saying that you can't say specific wording or say things in specific orders because it offends somebody, how are we supposed to weed out who the dickheads are? You know, like if they say something I don't like, I don't get offended. I just don't fuck with them anymore. I don't hang out with them. I don't talk with them. It's that simple. You know, like what's your stance on shit like that?
I mean, the tail to that coin is like, how can we ever have a dialogue? How can we ever have a conversation if nobody is able to talk, right? So that's the idea of that beautiful Constitution, right? And the First Amendment is so that even if there's things that like viscerally make me hate what this other person is saying, they have a right to say it, and we should be able to have a dialogue about it. Yeah. If we can't have a dialogue about it, if like what they're saying I automatically label as hate speech, then we're never going to be able to find common ground. And that, to be specific, when you're asking about the Second Amendment stuff, is a perfect example of what happened. Clearly, I am a pretty diehard Second Amendment supporter, right? I'm a soldier.
You literally were just at a firing range, weren't you? Like,
instructor, and anybody that would insinuate that I was anything else is crazy. But they are, and that's because I was talking to Lance Armstrong, and Lance Armstrong does not believe in the same things that I believe. And we were having a conversation, he and I, back and forth about what would it look like to have a safer America, and how could we do that? It's just a conversation. And in that conversation, we talked about lots of different things, from gun legislation, gun control, changing age limits to access of certain types of firearms. And that is where people were grabbing 3-second sound bites from my mouth in a conversation with somebody that disagrees with me, and then saying that is my overall perception on this larger, greater issue.
Yeah.
So I think that we should be able to talk, and it's kind of sad that we can't. These things are very nuanced, complicated things that you have to talk about. But if we're not allowed to talk, then we'll never find a solution.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's fucking sad, man. Like back in the day, it used to be sticks and stones, right? It was, you know, I that's the whole reason I started martial arts. I got bullied, I got picked on, I got beat up, I actually have a strong opinion about the word bullying, and I just kind of came to fruition the other day, like having a conversation with somebody. Maybe you can give me your opinion on it. I personally think that the word bullying is bullshit. As somebody who actually went through it hardcore, I would have scars on my face. I had to go through multiple surgeries, probably over 30 surgeries by the time I was 10 years old. I was constantly picked on and beaten. It's the whole reason I actually started martial arts, because I got beaten by
assault.
Huh?
That's called assault.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so that's kind of my point. So when someone puts their hands on you, right, it's assault and or battery, depending on the circumstance, right? There's a law against that, and there are rules and there are consequences to that. When you call it bullying, you take all of that away, and there's no solution. Same thing with stalking. You stalk somebody, there are laws and rules and regulations. When you call it bullying, you take all of that away. It's almost like a way to soften people rather than harden people. That's just my opinion as somebody who went through it.
What about when they don't put their hands on you, right? Where they're like, hey, you're an ugly, stupid, scarred-faced weirdo. You're never going to get a girlfriend. You're an ugly loser, and you're stupid. And they're like telling their friends about it. And they're like pushing the locker closed as they walk by. They're not hitting you, but they're messing with you. They knock your tray off the table at the cafeteria. They won't let you, you're the last to be picked every single time in every single sport. That's not assault. That's just a bunch of asshole kids. And
I think that's a nuance of abuse. It's a nuance of it. It's a psychological abuse that takes place over a long period of time.
So that's wrong behavior, right?
What was that?
That's bad behavior.
Yeah,
so
of course. I mean,
how do we label those kids, and how do we prevent those kids from doing that to other kids? Because they're habitual bulliers.
Well, that's the same line of conversation as how do we stop people from shooting people? I think the only real way to do that is you need to give people a true respect for human life. I think it's the only way to do it. The only way that you can actually stop people from being that way to other human beings is to give them true value of what life is. And when we teach them that there is no true value to it, then why do I have to care about someone else's life when it has either no meaning, no purpose, or I have no stake in the game? If I don't give a shit about human life, then I don't give a shit about anyone's life.
Amen.
Amen. But if I give a fuck about somebody else, I can go around and I'm in Florida, fuck, everybody's carrying guns. Of course, Florida man is a meme. Then we have crazy people out here. That's true. But there are crazy people everywhere. I just got back from New York. Right. And there are people up there packing too. But the difference is that when people value human life, I think that they really start to spread love rather than hate. But that's just my opinion. I think that's the real root.
Yeah, we culturally have to change. If there's too many guns. There's too many guns here now for us to ever think that we're going to be able to get guns out of people's hands. Bad guys are going to have guns. There's more guns in the United States than the rest of the world combined. Do you know that?
No, I didn't know that. That's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So what we have, and there's always been more guns here than anywhere else in the world. So what we have here is a cultural problem, right? We haven't had shootings ever in our country's history since 1775. But now here since 2004 to today, like we're having a shooting every month. You know, that's a shift in culture. And I think you're right. We have learned to not value human life, and it's the most valuable thing. It's the most precious thing. And I think we got to get back to teaching people to love one another and be nice.
Yeah. And, you know, like I was always, you know, when I started the martial arts, my goal was to just fight people. I got tired of people's bullshit. I was like, you know what? I'm tired of getting my ass beat all the time. I think I want to learn how to win a fight. That'd be cool. And then, you know, once I started fighting, and then, you know, my first couple months, I was all about like, I want to go find the people who fought me and I want to beat them up and get revenge and blah, blah, blah. But I couldn't get a fight. Like I tried so hard to fight another human being and they just weren't having it. And then I realized that maybe I was getting more out of the martial arts than I really expected. Maybe it was a confidence level going up. Maybe it was me giving a fuck about, you know, like other human beings, because now I have a different idea about how human beings operate. I can look across the ring at another human being and look at that dude and go, I'm going to beat his ass. And then all of a sudden I wind up on my back or dumped on my head or getting choked. And I go, I was completely incorrect, you know? And it kind of changed my philosophy. Did martial arts do anything like that for you? Or were you always just like, you know what? I still kind of want to beat people's ass.
Yeah, I mean, fighting was just one of those things I've always been good at, you know, going back to when I first started martial arts to when I first started competing. You know, I've been a competitor in martial arts for 30 years. And, you know, it definitely saved me from a lot of bad decisions. You know, it gave me a very clear understanding of right and wrong. And I always tried to be on the right side. I was never the bullier, you know, but it gave me skills where you know, somebody was a bully to my friend Laura LeCarry, and I cracked him in the face and I pushed him off the top floor of the play gym, you know, you know, in college, I come across a guy being roughed with a girl, and, you know, I felt vindicated into really hurting this guy. So it took some time, some experience, and some poor decisions to make sure I was making the right decisions with the tools that martial arts gives you. It gives you superpowers, you know? It really does. Like when you have to deal with normal people,
they can't fight worth a shit.
Yeah. Like when you deal with normal people, you're like, you really have no idea what you're doing right now. I can do anything I want. I can knock you out. I can choke you out. I can beat you and not even let you get hurt. You know, like I'm going to stop you from hurting yourself while you're trying to hurt me. So then I can like diffuse this entirely. That's the level of superhero that martial arts gives you. It's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it's pretty badass, to be honest. It's probably one of the greatest things that we're ever given. Like, well, we study and you learn and you train, but I think it's probably one of the most beneficial things that I've ever been given, because when you walk into a room and you are aware that you could probably hurt most of the people in the room, it really does change your outlook on things. It changes the way that you view people, because you walk into that room and you go, yeah, I could probably handle this situation. But then you think back about the time that you met the little dude who choked you on the mat and you go, you know what? Maybe I should, maybe I can't. Yeah. It makes you, I think, analyze things way differently.
I think it also gives you kindness. You know, it gives you patience. It gives you humility. I don't know any good martial artist that's an arrogant prick. You know, you walk into my school and there's a half a dozen black belts there, Hoyler Gracie black belts. And if you walk in that door and you have an ego that you carry into that room, it will be pounded out of you mercilessly, you know? And in a matter of a few weeks, maybe if you're really, really stupid and stubborn, a couple of months, but it will be gone or you will be gone. One of those two things is going to happen. You'll either get cool and relax, or you'll leave and quit and keep that attitude, but won't have any skill.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of it. It's kind of self-regulating, which I find pretty interesting, because I have a very odd job in the martial arts. I carved out just a little bit of a niche and that no one was doing, and that's calling out people's bullshit. Like I call out people who are fakes, frauds, phonies, pretend they can knock people out with their minds, pretend that they can, you know, they can stop people by touching them and make them freeze their entire bodies. People who rip people off, they'll open up a gym 1 month, get everybody's first month's payment, last month's payment, then close the doors, and then you'll never see from them again, and they'll do it again at another location. Or they'll organize their belt rank structure around your payments, which is a beautiful thing, which I've discovered, is that they'll be like, oh, the average martial arts student drops out after a year, huh? Well, then what we'll do is we'll make our contracts around 8 months and we'll have you re-sign again and before that year mark happens. You know, it's very interesting the way that the whole scam works, but there are some pretty legitimately cult-like people out there who are really taking advantage of people in this game. And I'm saddened by that. And I think that, you know, as well regulated as the self-martial arts is, or as the martial arts is, I think that it could use a little bit more of that. Hey guys, like that guy's pretty crazy, just so you know. Just you can do it if you want, but just be aware he's crazy.
I mean, it's a horrible time. Any instance that you have a captive audience without anybody to provide truth, right? When you look at like how, that's why I hate political rallies where somebody can walk into an audience that is only supporters with a group of people behind them that are also only supporters, and they can go up and they can say anything they want, and nobody ever has an opportunity to speak truth into that room. And that's what martial, you know, in debates, when a debate is so pre-canned, where there's no truth ever coming out. Martial arts can be that way, where you have somebody that walks in and all of the students, you know, like they're bowing to them, you know, and they're going to show some horrible thing. You know, they're going to show, as I see John is on here from the pit, one of my first martial art coaches when I learned how to strike. You know, he teaches how to throw a left hook. You can walk into a gym and see, I mean, what should be criminal when somebody says, okay, this is how you do a punch, or this is how you strike. And you're like, no, that's going to break your hand. Like if you have somebody punch that way, they won't be able to use their hands. And these are the things that save our lives. They're like, well, you know, if somebody tries to attack you and they have a knife, you can just like go like this, and the knife's going to fall out. And everybody in the room is like, oh, God, it's amazing. You're like, no, it's not. That's going to get somebody killed. If somebody tries that on somebody with a knife, they're going to get murdered. So I don't, like, thank you for what you're doing. It's pretty awesome. I wish you could do it in like this viral sense where, you know, we could walk into gyms where these people are and really expose them, because they're dangerous frauds.
I agree. You know, the hard part is like the legality behind it all, right? So I'm always towing the line between slander and liable, although luckily everything that I post is pretty much true and they've already posted it themselves. But, you know, when you people are like, how come you don't give their names away? And I was like, because there are crazy assholes on this planet, and you will literally find somebody who will hunt them down and shoot them for some shit like this. Or they were like, how come you don't give their address? It's because everybody will be knocking on their door to assault them. You know, it's like, I want them exposed and I want them to quit. It doesn't necessarily mean I want some random crazy dude to know their personal information. You know, that's the hard part about drawing the line. Now, do I want to go into their studios? Yeah, I'm actually filming a documentary. I'm just waiting on it to get picked up. And we're going to go into people's gyms, man. Like, just. Well,
if you need a retarded, hairy troll that is kind of gifted at violence to go with you.
Where would I find one of those? No, yeah, definitely, dude. I'll make sure that when we start filming out that way, because you're in Texas, right?
I'm not good at anything else. Like, I wish I could play the piano, you know, but they're like, look at these chunky things. They're like, there's nothing else they're good for. Dude,
have you seen the bare knuckle thing? Bare knuckle boxing? I went out there to cover the event. Every one of them broke their hands. Every fighter. It's incredible.
That's not incredible.
I was just amazed. You know, the old, like, yeah, if you hit somebody with your closed fist, you're going to break their hand, right? Your hand, right? That's the old adage. And then you're like, I don't know, maybe my hand will be okay. And then you like, because I always fought with gloves. And then, you know, like, I haven't gotten to a street fight that didn't involve a choke since I was a kid. And so, like, whenever you say these things and you over and over again, and then all of a sudden you see it in person, you're like, dude, your hands are fucked up. Like, there's no piano in your future, son. Chopsticks is all you get.
Must be gentle with your hands.
Yeah. Now, people are asking some questions. I just don't want to ignore them here. So we'll go to Kyle Mills. Thank you, Kyle Mills, for having a pronounceable name. He says, what is your favorite EDC knife? Is it still the Gerber Go Strike?
Yeah. So I love the Go Strike. It is definitely my favorite knife that is concealable, that's fixed blade. I love fixed blade because it takes away a step in the defense process, right? I don't have to take something out of my pocket. I don't have to open it up. I don't have to push a button. I just pull it out and I'm ready to get to work. It's one of the things I like about fixed blade. Carrying a fixed blade isn't always possible or comfortable. So I have the Covert Auto. I wear that one a lot. On my body armor, I carry the fixed blade strong arm, and on my work belt, but that's like a pretty overt, outside the waistband thing. When you're trying to be concealable, I really do like the Ghost Strike, and I think it's the best fixed blade EDC knife out there. The Covert Auto is a pretty awesome folding auto knife.
Yeah, I'm curious. So there's like the knives that they have like a little bit of a metal hook on them. So when you pull them out of your pocket, they automatically deploy. What do you think about those?
It's awesome if it works every time. So I'm wearing like, you can't see, like gym shorts right now, right? They're kind of stretchy. That's different than like jeans. And unless you practice with what you're wearing, because you have to train how you fight, right? That knife doesn't deploy the exact same way every single time. And sometimes it doesn't deploy in like stretchy gym clothes. Like I'm in Texas right now, it's 100 degrees. It's been over 90 degrees since May. It's not gonna really cool off until early October. So I'm in shorts and kind of stretchy shorts because I got big old thick kid legs. Those knives don't always, it's a really cool feature and they work great when they work right. But unless you're able to practice with all the clothes you wear, you need to know it's going to work.
Yeah. And I guess with a fixed knife, there is no guessing. As soon as you grab it, it's ready for the stabbing.
Yeah. It's pointy end in. That's all you got to do.
There I was minding my own business, stabbing this person. So Rex Thomas said, what are your thoughts on military service required by adults here in the U.S. to build the SBD core? Among citizens.
There you go. I get what you're saying, Rex. The only groups of people that have forced their citizens to always serve in this conscripted service in modern day is Israel, and they have made it work very well. That's the only positive example. All other examples are pretty negative.
You just said a magic fucking word to me, and I appreciate you saying it because it sparked my little brain from all the concussions I have had over the years. One little jewel just came out of this conversation, and I appreciate it. So you said Israel, right? Yeah. So there is a gentleman online, right? And he is probably the biggest fraud that I have seen, and I'm very close to him being the very first person I've actually just full bore called out because I feel like he is the biggest fraud. So as we all know, Sambo is Russian. And from all the research that I figured out,
we're not going to talk shit about Sambo because I like Sambo.
No, I'm not talking shit about Sambo. Sambo is great, right? But I'm not going to lie. If I thought it was shit, I would just still say my opinion. But I think Sambo is great, right? I think it's an amazing art. Those dudes don't fuck around. Like if you would go into a Sambo class, it's very similar to like a wrestling mentality where it's like work. I fucking love it. But there are these guys who claim they're called online. It's Rostami Self-Defense. And online, his handle is Persian Bodyguard on Instagram. And he's probably the biggest fraud I've actually found in terms of like blatant lying about what they do. So they claim that their grandfather founded Sambo. But there are 3 people who have been labeled as the founders of Sambo because it was more of a collaboration starting off art. And that could be traced back to the founder of judo. And it's pretty amazing that that these people would be so bold to put it on their website. So one, they claim that their grandfathers founded Russian Sambo. He didn't. They claim that they constantly do the military attire. They wear U.S. military insignia, logos. Never been in the U.S. military. The dude claims that he had a coral belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or just Jiu-Jitsu. I can't say Brazilian because that would be incorrect. It does say Jiu-Jitsu though. He claims to have a coral belt at the age of 18 in Jiu-Jitsu. So all of these repetitive lies over and over and over again, right? And they have a studio in Quebec. And I am just itching to get a fucking camera crew up there and just call him out to his face about the bullshit that he's done. What do you think about that, man? Because like that kind of like crosses the into your territory a little bit more of military and stolen valor. What do you think about the differences between people lying about a black belt and lying about military service?
That's always a tricky thing. I mean, people ask all the time if I would participate in kind of like stolen valor call-outs. And I don't think there's a win in that situation, because usually it's a sad, pathetic person's life that is missing a bunch of important elements. And I have always felt that I'm like going down to their level to like spend any amount of time to prove them wrong. Especially when they're not doing any harm. Like if they're just walking around being like, hey, you know, I'm a Vietnam Navy SEAL. And it's like, well, man, there's like 80 of them and I know them and you're not one of them. Like that's kind of not an option. You know, but like it's when they're using it for their own benefit or when they're committing fraud, then they're committing a crime. And that's a separate thing. And they should be prosecuted. On the martial arts side, when somebody is claiming that they can do something when they can't, or that they have a knowledge about something when they don't, or they could teach you to do something when they can't. Now we're moving into a very dangerous world of potentially getting somebody hurt. And you know, like I'm all about freedom. I'm all about, man, you can say what you want, you can do what you want, unless you're negatively affecting other people. And when you are giving people false information, when you are lying to them about what you know, about what you can do, and more importantly, what that student can do, it is very, very dangerous. And that's why I take such issue with a style of martial arts sometimes, because there's styles that people say can do things that they can't. And then specifically martial artists that think they can do things or think they can teach people to do things that they just in fact cannot.
Yeah. It's sad, man. It's scary shit, because I started this shit I've been doing martial arts for 22 years of my life, the majority of my life. But when it comes to the McDojoLife thing, I've only been doing it for roughly about 6 years now. I think I just reached the 6-year mark the other day. And in 6 years, I post one post every day and I leave it up just to see what people's interactions and comments will be. I don't want people to miss the post. And what's amazing to me is in that 6 years, I haven't run out of material. I would hope that by now I'd be out of business. But the truth is there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of these people who are brainwashed into this stuff. And my theory is that it's because they don't know any better. They walked into a studio. They had a very charismatic instructor who's been a charlatan for his entire life. He's very good at convincing people that, hey, man, this is going to work and I can talk people into it. And I think that where people fail to understand about a lot of martial arts is people start martial arts for different reasons and they stay for different reasons. Like some people might start martial arts because they want to lose weight, but they want to lose weight in a fun environment that they think will actually add to their self-defense. But most people online anyway think that the only reason to start and stay in martial arts is simply self-defense, which it should be an integral part, I think, of most martial arts. You should learn how to protect yourself physically, but not everybody's going to stay for that reason, you know? And so that's where these shysters, I think, latch on. They find that one thing that you were looking for other than self-defense. And they like, oh, well, you might not be able to fight your way out of paper bag, but you did lose 10 pounds. You know, it's like, well, yeah, it's because I stopped eating like shit. You didn't help me with that. You know, like, how do you think they do it? What are your thoughts? How do you think that they get away with keeping these students?
Again, they're talking to these people in a vacuum, right? They have a captive audience, an audience that unfortunately is ignorant about these things, because the instructor is able to dictate who is participating in that class, right? If I walk into the room, if John Hackman walks into the room, if Chuck Liddell walks into the room, what's going to come out of that dude's mouth is going to be massively different than he has a bunch of little white belts or yellow belts that really don't know anything about anything. They don't know about self-defense. They don't know about the fundamentals of martial arts. They don't even know about like the basics of wrestling, kickboxing, boxing, judo, any of those like very fundamental things about just being able to control your body. They don't know anything about it. So that guy can go up there and say whatever he wants. And that creates a beautiful environment for him to, they are manipulators. You know, they all they need is enough information about what that audience needs to hear to hook them. You know, just like Charles Manson picked his audience, picked his girls, picked his dudes, you know, those ones that were like low-hanging fruit, right for the picking, so that he could create this audience that would do anything that he wanted. And that's what these criminal asshole martial art instructors are doing. They're even putting their studios in very specific places so they can elicit a very specific clientele, where they want suburban moms, you know, or they want, you know, the by tech centers where they're going to have kind of these younger, softer guys that work for .coms. You know, it's like it's just ripe for the picking. They're not going to go to the southeast side where they're going to have, you know, a bunch of Mexicans or blue collar workers. So they're like, we're not going to go down there because those guys are going to scuff us up because their dads used to box with them in the backyard. Yeah. You know, or like they were in a school and the only two sports they had were wrestling and football. You know, so like truth comes out pretty fast in a wrestling room or in a boxing ring.
Yeah, the mat don't lie, man. Somebody else said that, but that's just the truth. You know, there's no more honest moment that you will have with another human being than when you actually fight them. Like, you cannot lie at that moment. How you are as a human being comes out. If you are direct, you fight direct. If you're sneaky, you fight sneaky. If you were just a hard-headed son of a bitch that will not stop, that is how you will fight. And the truth is like, it just comes out. And I think it's a beautiful moment that so many people try to get away from. So many people avoid, like, I don't want this altercation. I don't want this fight. Whereas martial artists were like, oh, fuck, it's Tuesday. It's time to punch my friend in the face. You know, like, I think it's something that most people should experience at least once. Not like an uncontrolled environment, but at least in a controlled environment where you go into like a boxing ring, or you learn how to maybe kickbox, or you learn how to wrestle. Fucking wrestling's brutal. Like, if you want to really know what you're made out of, get on a wrestling mat with some wrestlers who are legit conditioned, and stay with them for that 2 hours, that 3 hours worth of conditioning. And just that
martial arts and self-defense meet. It's kind of, you're talking about it right now. It's where you're in a controlled environment and you get to train against a fully resistant opponent. You will never know if a technique works unless you're using it against somebody that is fully resistant to that technique. That's the beautiful thing about wrestling and about boxing, Hawaiian Kempo, Muay Thai, Judo, is you're using that technique against a fully resistant opponent. But you're doing it in a controlled environment where somebody hopefully doesn't get hurt. And if you're training right and you're practicing right and you have a good instructor, that facilitates an environment for people to get better at these things. If you are practicing something, whether in a controlled or in a non-controlled environment, against a non-fully resistant opponent, you'll never know if that technique works. And while, you know, I've been training martial arts since forever, from, you know, versions of karate into Hawaiian Kempo, into Muay Thai, into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, collegiate wrestling, Judo, Sambo. The common thread amongst all of those things is it's a controlled environment, i.e. you have a very good coach, you have a padded mat, you have gloves. That's the control in the environment. And then I'm training against a fully resistant person. And unfortunately, in my world, there are dudes like Chuck Liddell and Jake Shields and John Jones, and they were just really good. So that sucked.
Well, I mean, I'm sure it sucked at the time, but I'm sure it helped to develop and mold the Tim Kennedy that we see today. You know, speaking of which, John Hackelman chimed in, which is an awesome dude. I have to say, I am a huge fan of John. I think he's a very, very direct human being, and I love that about him. And he says that martial arts and military raise better men. And I say amen to that statement. I think that that is a very truthful statement in my opinion. But so tell me a little bit about what's going on with you, man. Tell us about you're doing training now. You're training people. So can you tell us about your program and kind of let people know what it is that you do with that?
Yeah. So our courses, it's called Sheepdog Response. The course is broken up into essentially 3 segments. You have the instruction portion of, you know, situational awareness, you know, like don't park your car in a, oh man. Hey, can you hold on 2 seconds?
No, man, do your thing, dude.
I have a fortress of a house and I got to get somebody to let these guys in.
So while we're chilling, we're going to stare at Tim Kennedy's chair here. But if any of you guys have any questions or comments or anything like that, all you got to do is just let us know. Let us know if you're enjoying the show. Let me know who you'd like to have on as a guest next, stuff like that. Hey, that was quick.
Yeah, it was fast. Yeah, just talking about courses. Like my house is set up like a fortress.
Like tactical walls, man.
Man, I'm not gonna tell you what my house is like, but you're not getting in my house. I travel a lot, so my wife is here sometimes. My kids are here, so it's pretty legit.
I would imagine that somebody would make that mistake and just like try to attempt to break in, and then like, oh, Kennedy, really? Somebody tried to break in your house?
Yeah, like 6 months ago, a professional burglar. I don't know who he was talking to. Like landscapers in the neighborhood. Anyways, like it's a nice house, but I try to make it. It's well lit. There's obviously I have a security system. And this person, well. Let's first identify that criminals are not the smartest people ever. And when their need supersedes their common sense, this is an example of that. So when I say a professional burglar, people are like, what professional burglar would ever try to break into Tim Kennedy's house? So I have to preface it that they are first and foremost a criminal, and second, their greed always surpasses their common sense. That's why they end up in jail. And this is an example of that. So a dude tries to break into my house. He goes from door to door to door. The first time as he's walking up to my door, my alarm notifies me that there's somebody walking up to a door. I'm like, oh, look at this guy. And then he goes up, he tries the door, and then he looks for a key, doesn't do it. Gets to the next door, doesn't do it. Next door doesn't do it. I'm like, so I set off the outside exterior kind of floodlights, and the guy's like, okay. So then he like goes to the shadows.
Oh, so you're in your house.
I'm in my house watching him live. I could also like talk to him if I wanted. I could set off alarms, but all of my kids were asleep, and I didn't want my kids to wake up. So we're like playing it cool until he starts going to my 4-year-old's window, and then I was like, "All right, bro, we have now passed the fuck games. You've moved into the bad decision world." So he ends up with a gun to the back of his head. And proning him out, like, hey, you got any guns on you? And he's like, no. I'm like, you got any weapons on you? Is there anything that I'm going to prick my hands when I start searching you? He's like, yeah, I got a thing in my belt. I was like, oh, you are so stupid. But this is another example of like martial arts is you preparing for something that may never happen, but it might. And because you prepare for it, you're going to be better prepared for when it happens. Obviously I've prepared for situations like that, from the security systems to the type of windows I have, to the window films, to the type of walls, to the locks, to the doors, to the security system, all those things, these redundancies. So when a professional burglar tried to break into my house, like not only did he not get in, it was kind of a joke. I was like, you were so pathetic.
And you're really bad at your job.
I have a dude with a weapon on my front lawn, and I'm not worried at all because I train. Like I'm the one dictating everything about how this interaction is happening. And that's the beautiful thing about martial arts is that like we win. That's it. There's like, I win. We're playing the I win game. Welcome to life.
And whether or not you live is up to you and how you handle the situation. Like
my phone's in there. Okay.
We were talking about Sheepdog right before you got up. And I really think that it's a great thing because I've been following you for a while, and then I started following Sheepdog actually not too long ago. And when I started looking at Sheepdog, like you're saying a lot of things very simply that could be very complicated with a poor instructor. And I think that it's great the way that you break things down, especially in terms of shooting. So yeah, just kind of continue to talk a little bit about that and how that came about and stuff like that.
So fighting's fighting, gunfighting, knife fighting, fist fighting. It's timing, it's angle, and it's having the fundamental knowledge about whatever it is that you're trying to do. So in one course, no matter who you go to, the most expensive, you're with Taryn at Taryn Tactical, one of the best shooting instructors on the planet. He is not going to make you a master in 2 days of a weekend.
Yeah.
Not going to happen, right? He was getting Holly Berry ready for John Wick. He trained her for 6 months for her little tiny scenes in those movies. No, is she ready to go to combat? Absolutely not, right? But she looked cool. So, and that's 6 months. We're talking 2 days. So what we can do in 2 days is we can give you a direction. We can set you on a course of how you can get better. We can show you, hey, you need to learn basic wrestling. You need to learn basic boxing. You need to learn the fundamentals of marksmanship. You need to learn how to do a reload, a tactical reload, a combat reload, like just how to breathe, how to trigger squeeze, sight picture, side alignment, grip. I mean, very basic fundamental things. And, you know, we just kind of scratch on the surface of moving and shooting. And for us in fighting, especially gunfighting, movement is life, which sounds a lot like boxing, right? Mm-hmm. You know, your stance is your shooting stance. Your wrestling stance is your shooting stance. My jiu-jitsu stance is my shooting stance. So it's like all of it kind of goes like this. And that's where martial arts makes you a better self-defense person, and a better self-defense person makes you a better martial artist. This is where those kind of worlds collide and those bubbles meet and overlap.
And so you go around, you travel, and you do these courses on site, or do people come to you?
Both. So, you know, we're based out of Austin, Texas. 3 of our full-time employees are here, and 10 of our instructors are here. Like, we're we're a bigger organization. We travel all over the world. We run 12 to 16 courses a year. You know, we teach some pretty elite combat units, and then we teach a woman that has never held a gun before in her life. We've had an 80-year-old woman come to one of our courses. We've had a blind guy come to one of our courses. You know, our instructors are professional fighters, black belt in jiu-jitsu, and also occupationally carry a gun. That's the requirement for you to be an instructor, is you have had to professionally fought, you have to have mastered a martial art, and you have to carry a firearm occupationally. That's for you to walk through the door. So when one of our guys is talking about something, like, he knows what he's talking about. It is not that McDojoLife. This is a dude that knows his work.
I wonder how that interview looks, man. Like, you walk in, yeah, here's my resume. No. Just go ahead and put that down. Take off your jacket, sir. What are you doing? Why are you wrapping your hands? Ow, ow. Like, yes, fight for your life. Here's a knife. Good luck. Oh, you made it. You survived. Congratulations.
You're joking. But so if you want to teach for us, like, first the resume comes in, right? And like, sometimes there's guys that have those requirements, but they aren't good teachers. They're not good fighters. Or you also, this sounds horrible, but you kind of have to have the look too, right? If you're going to be in front of people presenting and you're a fat piece of crap, like, listen, you should be a physical specimen. You should be in shape and ready to fight. Your belly's hanging over your belt. Like, that's a problem. Yeah. And like, anything that we're going to demo, anything that we're going to ask our students to do, we can do at an insane level, right? Like, if I'm going to show you a draw stroke in 1 through 4, just a very basic draw, I'm going to want you to do it in 3 seconds. Well, every single one of my instructors is going to have, in a 10-ounce group at 10 meters, they're going to have a 1.5 second draw, like, across the board, every single one of them. So that means that my guys are going to be 200% faster than you in something that we're asking you to do. And that's kind of our approach to fighting, grappling, wrestling, all of it. So it's like they're ready to tussle.
I think that's an important thing, man. I think that's something that just in general, it gets missed in a lot of martial arts. They get what is called the black belt belly. And so they sit on the black belt once they get it. You're not fucking, I think this is good. This is where I need to be. And it's like, one thing I love about jiu-jitsu is there is none of that. I've never been into a jiu-jitsu academy where you walk up and you go, who's the guy who's the best here? And they don't typically point at the instructor or one of the instructors, like instructors, like they don't point at somebody who is an employee, which is sad, because a lot of karate schools and taekwondo schools, which is why I think they get a bad rap, have that issue where there's an instructor who's telling you to do a lot of things, but his ability to have been doing them at his age has long gone. It's like, dude, you're 30. Get off your ass. Go back to kicking.
Yeah.
One thing I really like to kind of just close things up, because I really appreciate the fact that you've taken the time. You've been chit-chatting. Thank you so much. Man. Yeah, man. I love stories from the dojo. It's something that I ask absolutely everybody to give me. It's one of those things where it could be when you're teaching a class. It could be while you're at the studio by yourself. It could be when it's just a select group of people. But it's stuff that most people wouldn't hear about, but it happens inside the studio or inside the dojo or inside whenever you're teaching or whenever you're taking a class. And those are usually stories that are little hidden gems that I love so much. And I was wondering if you had one, maybe a story that sticks out to you. You were like, yeah, I was in the studio this one time, and something like that.
Oh, man. Unfortunately, I've been doing it so long. There's so many of them. So I'll give you 2, and I'll name drop so that they sound cooler.
There you go.
I'm going to go in a reverse historical order, so I'll go with the more recent. And these are very self-deprecating ones. So just so everybody's cool, like understands, I still think I'm cool. So before I tell these stories, I still think I'm an okay person. So, John Jones, we're in Albuquerque, New Mexico, training at Jackson Winklejohn MMA. And I have been a martial artist for 30 plus years. And there's a particular thing that was from a snap down. You go into a Russian roll, which is a freestyle wrestling move to give a back exposure for some points, and you roll right into a arm and guillotine, another kind of cool jiu-jitsu move. And the variation, it's a high elbow arm and guillotine, which was kind of made famous by Renzo Gracie. So it's a bunch of kind of high level things happening in this daisy chain way. And I thought I had created this really fantastic move that only somebody that was really advanced like myself, like this black belt in jiu-jitsu that had wrestled, could go in and hit. And so I showed John Jones, who, had been doing martial arts for like not very long. And I had worked on this move for maybe 10 years. And John Jones, after I showed it to him one time, went out and nailed it on somebody on the mat in the sparring rounds that we're doing that very same day. And I was looking at him being like, that's cool,
No big deal.
I learned how to do that move. And it took you about 10 seconds.
Hurt the feeling a little.
Yeah, that was a big hit to ego. So we're at slow. Here's story number 2. We're at slow kickboxing in San Luis Obispo, California. I'm sparring with Chuck Liddell, and Chuck Liddell hits kind of hard. And if there's anything that John Hackelman's known for, it's the overhand right and the left hook. Probably the left hook most famously or infamously, because he put a lot of people to sleep with it, as did Chuck Liddell. But Chuck Liddell would use that kind of looping left hook to set up that pretty vicious overhand right and cross. So Chuck was pretty much tagging me at will with either of those punches. And I'm dumb and I'm very stubborn, and I don't get knocked out. Like if you look at all of my fights, even the ones that like I get scuffed up in pretty bad, I just take a licking, and the ref is finally like, bro, you've taken too many lickings. I'm going to have to call a fight. Yeah. This is one of those moments where I'm taking a licking and I should probably be done, as I'm covered in my own blood. And in between rounds, like I walk over and in my ignorance, I'm like, I think I got him. And John Hackelman's like, I think you got him too. And I go back out there, and Chuck just beats the living bejesus out of me for the next round, which is like the 9th round in a row. If there was like a strike counter, it was like 480 to 0.
That's a hell of a number.
Yeah, that's my whole fight career summed up right there. Those 2 stories.
800 to 0. Yeah, man. Back in the day, like that was a really, really big deal. Like, I guess maybe it was a marketing thing from UFC, or maybe it was just the truth and they were just putting that out there. But they really did market that heavy, that you were in the military, you were a military dude, and that you were also a fighter. And that was a big deal.
Yeah, it was a really hard thing always, and this is a mistake, and you can see it evident in my career, is I would never dedicate myself to fighting. I love being a soldier. I love being a Green Beret. I love being a sniper, and like that's my passion. So like tomorrow, which is normally my pretty hard training, Tuesdays and Thursdays are my normally hard grappling days. Like two workouts in just in grappling on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I am going to be out at the sniper range tomorrow from sunrise until sunset. So I'm going to miss both the grappling classes that I normally attend. And that's a perfect example of like kind of how my whole entire career was, where my heart was always with my guys, with my team, like thinking about the next deployment, thinking about what I did right or wrong on my last deployment, getting ready for the range the next day. And I'm trying to get a workout in. I'm trying to, still be a martial artist, but I can't be anything else but a soldier. Like when I fought for the first title against Jacare, I had just gotten back from an overseas deployment a few weeks before that. Even though that was a fight that I felt I won, and I don't know, had I not been deployed, if I would have performed better. I'm not making excuses, but I was always torn between those 2 worlds. So both the UFC and Strikeforce and the IFL and the WC, they all recognize that. So while it was partially a marketing thing, like Tim Kennedy, Special Forces sniper and ranger, and you know, also a fighter, it was also the truth. It was because I just couldn't ever give one up.
And I will have to say this, in the grand scheme of importantness, right? No one's gonna walk up to you in the street and say, "Hey, man, thank you for that fight you had." They're going to say thank you for your service. And I, for one, say thank you for your service, because it wasn't for gentlemen like yourself, people who are willing to make that sacrifice. The truth is, I would literally not be getting paid to own a website. It's fucking weird, but it's the truth. Like, you guys are the first in line to make sure that we are able to keep those freedoms. And they are very, very, very important. And I have to say that you guys have made sacrifices that most of us could not possibly imagine. You know, I've had friends who went into the military right out of high school and didn't make it. And I got to say, it hurt, you know, and I'm sure that you being there on the front lines and you having to go through that in person with friends and buddies as well is fucking difficult. But I have to say, you make that sacrifice and you make the world a little bit of a better place for us. Thank you. Thank you for your service.
I love what I do.
Yeah, man. And yeah, and you're good at it. I mean, it's fucking awesome. But anyway, I will wrap this up a little bit because I think we've hit our hour. So thank you so much for being able to take the time. You didn't have to do that. I'm just so fucking dude online. You were like, "I'll be your Huckleberry." I was like, "Cool. I like that shit. Let's make that happen." But well, yeah, man.
Next time you're in Austin, come and train with us.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Actually, a homie of mine is out there not too far from you. Is Sean Patrick Flannery, who's out there in Texas. Yeah. I don't know if you ever rolled with him or not. He's the dude from fucking what the hell's that goddamn movie? Damn it! Why can't I think about it?
No, he's a grappler, right?
Yeah, black belt. He does his thing. He's the third degree, I think. His he runs a charity studio out there.
We absolutely are in the same circle. So if you come here, let me know. McDojo, like, you walk into my gym, it is a Shark Tank. Everybody, you're like, "Oh my god, this blue belt is really good." We're like, "Yeah, he won worlds this year." Like, "Oh my god, this purple belt is like really good." He's like, "Yeah, well, he plays second, so we're not talking to him."
Well, I am really mediocre, but I enjoy being with sharks. So, but yeah, man, do me a favor, plug yourself, man. How can people find out more about you, what you're doing, what you're up to? Let them know.
Tim Kennedy MMA is kind of everything on the social medias, you know, but like, follow me if you want. I say dumb stuff all the time, but more importantly, just keep exercising your freedoms, all of them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for your time and your effort and your dedication to the arts and your service. And we are going to get out of here. Deuces, thank you all for watching. Catch you guys on